Meredith, how are you?
Hello. Hi. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah. There's a cat behind you, I think,
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. The new member of the family,
Yeah.
adopted. Yeah.
Uh, um, when as a human being or whatever, then consciousness is kind of manifested through the human brain, right?
Sorry?
Like um, consciousness is kind of received by the human brain.
No,
No?
no, no. Mind appears in the human brain in a form of thought, some sort of neuron activity, right?
Yeah.
So this thought comes from consciousness. The thought, I am the body. It passes through some, they are called nadhis, psychic channels, right? And then it reaches the brain. This is why people believe that the mind is in the head, right? That the brain, the human brain, the person thinks, right? But the person is a thought that appears reflected in the human brain. It appears in the body as a thought, I. But consciousness doesn't appear anywhere. It doesn't get manifested. See, it never shows up here. Right? Consciousness is beyond manifest and non-manifest. All this is a manifestation of the mind. All this is mind stuff, right? Now, the waking state, it is manifest in two ways, in a subtle form and in a gross form, right? Gross form, world. Subtle form, thought. In deep sleep, the mind goes into an unmanifest state in its causal form, right? So the mind goes from its manifested state to its non-manifested state. Consciousness is just there as a substratum of the mind, see, and the witness of the mind, if you wish. Is the source, witness, substratum, and place of dissolution of the mind. So the mind never appears or disappears.
Okay. Yeah, conscious doesn't need a vehicle then.
Consciousness doesn't need anything. It doesn't have a vehicle. It doesn't have a body. It doesn't have a mind. It doesn't have anything, and it doesn't need anything. It is independent from everything. Yet, body, mind, and everything else is contained within consciousness. It means it is inseparable from consciousness. It's no other entity. See, it's not a second entity that exists apart, separate, independent from consciousness. Quite restless.
That always confuses me though, because when the brain is not functioning properly, the person can't function properly.
The brain cannot function properly because there must be a brain damage.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, in some way.
Yes, it's like a computer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is some some channels that doesn't allow the data, the information to work, right? And the computer cannot function properly, right?
Yeah.
Like in case of a aneurysma or I don't know, some kind
Yeah.
of brain damage, so the body cannot. But consciousness is untouched by anything.
Mhm.
Sometimes there must be a kind of a psychological case when the mind is extremely active, right? In X, Y, Z way, right? So that person cannot function properly. But it can be physical or psychological. This is as far as I can say. I'm not an expert, right? And now YouTube have these things that people that are not qualified, and if they speak about something they are not qualified, they punish you, and then you go offline for a few days. They don't allow you to publish some videos for some time.
Mhm.
Consciousness is perfect. Its reality is perfect. It doesn't need anything. It is independent from everything, and everything depends on consciousness. And we are that consciousness. That's the paradox.
We are?
Consciousness.
Yes. Yeah.
Who is conscious of the body? I. Who is conscious of the mind? I. Who is conscious of energy even? I. Right? I am consciousness means I am conscious means that I itself is consciousness. What is conscious is consciousness. This is why it's called consciousness. Right? The being is identical with consciousness. Being is consciousness, right? It's like I am conscious because I exist, and because I exist, I am conscious. So existence and consciousness, or consciousness and I, basically means the same.
Okay.
I work in, I'm semi-qualified to speak about it because I work in mental hospitals and old age homes, and I did carer training courses in Australia, which are highly qualified. And there is a great deal of psychology that we learn during the trainings and all that, so we can understand the conditions of the patients, so approach to them accordingly. So we could recognize also the symptoms, okay, that the person was going through. If the person was hallucinating, for example, right? If the person, if somebody says there is a snake on the floor, you don't reinforce the hallucination. Say, yes, don't worry, it's not going to hurt you, right? You say, no, man,
Yeah.
there is no snake on the floor. There's nothing here. Come have a look, right? Or, for example, some people that suffer from dementia. I remember myself giving a shower to an old lady. She was sitting on a wheelchair, and then suddenly she got distracted. He was looking elsewhere. When she looked at me, she freaked out, right? Who are you? What are you doing here? You bastard, get out. And then you are trained, right? How to act in that way. You step out of the bathroom, and then you call someone else, right? And she may feel more safe, right? So some cases were physical conditions, right? And the other ones were the so-called psychological conditions, right? Anyway, the psychological conditions also produce a malfunctioning of the brain, of the body, what people believe it is the person, right? So they are not, you cannot separate the mind from the body. Even perceptions are the mind. What we understand by mind and the concept of mind in this context, sometimes it is used only for the subtle aspect of the mind, which is thought, right? Intellect, memory, tendencies, desires, and all that stuff, imprints, right? But mind collectively, the awakened state collectively is the mind, which includes perceptions. Right? This is why it is called sometimes the ego is called the body-mind complex, right? The mind in its most the mind as how to call it, in its first modification, or when it appears, is a very subtle thought, right? It's kind of a sense of self, right? And when it appears, the world appears, right? When it disappears, like in deep sleep, the world disappears. So the mind appears, the world appears, the mind is manifesting the world, right? And then it identifies itself with each individual being. It creates the idea that there is separate, multiple individual beings, right? Identifies itself with physical form, whether it is human, animal, vegetal, mineral. People don't believe that, okay? The ego is everywhere, right? And it produces that imaginary split within itself. The mind itself conceptually divides itself into subject and object. See, identifies itself with the body, right? Which is an object and appears to be a subject. And now it is experiencing multiple objects, multiple individuals, as if they were separate from itself, outside, external, right? It creates the idea of an external world, right? Objective reality, and so on. Consciousness is the witness of all that game. Nobody can explain or even understand it. We can just see it for what it is. The mind appears, and that's all. And things begin to happen, right?
Yeah.
Many people say,
Yeah.
oh, this is God will, or consciousness does it. And consciousness doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
This is why, if you follow what I'm saying, the gross body, the so-called matter, right? The subtle body, because it is a body, has a form, but it is subtle thought, the intellect, the memory, and all that stuff. And then, we're talking about mind, right? And then the causal body, right, which contains all the possibilities, right? Past, present, future, all that is contained there in a potential or latent state. Consciousness is called the super causal body. Super means beyond, see? Beyond the cause. So it's the causeless cause. Because it is there, see, what causes everything brings all that into existence, but there is no desire from consciousness. So all this is mind stuff.
And if there's, like you say, there's no will of God, not in the way we think,
Yes.
then it's just spontaneously happening, but we can't understand how or why.
The sun shines, and because the sun shines, everything grows. But the sun doesn't have a desire for everything to grow. right? Because
Yeah.
of the sunshine, everything grows, right? Because consciousness is, everything else also is, right? It appears, right? That's why the analogy of the cinema screen is given. It doesn't do anything, right? It is just there. Means it simply is. Everything else that appears on the screen symbolically represents the mind. Let's say that the images on the screen are the gross body and the subtitles, right? Are the mind, the thought. So we are so enchanted by the projection that we forget that there is even a screen, right? So we are so enchanted by all this that we forget oneself, right? As the very basis of all this. The mind is very powerful. Ramana used to call it a wonderful, a wondrous power within the self, right? That is capable to cover the self, right? If you if you look at the sun, right, and you put your thumb like that, it seems like you can cover the sun, right?
Yeah, I remember that. I heard that before from Ramana. Yeah.
Ramana said so. Such is the mind. See, such a tiny little thing can cover such a huge. The sun is what, a star or a planet? Planet.
Star, isn't it?
The sun.
Sun is a star, I think.
Star, right?
I think, but
The,
I'm not
the
100%.
the analogy means the sun is huge and this is so tiny, and yet it's capable to cover it. Hey, come here. Stop eating the tree. You're not a cow. What was the question? Oh, good.
The original question was about consciousness, and if it's not manifesting through the brain, then what is the kind of vehicle?
Consciousness does not manifest itself. It is called the unmanifest, but it's the absolute unmanifest. The mind is also unmanifest and sometimes manifest. The consciousness
What is really the meaning of unmanifest then?
that is not present as the world, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It is in a formless state. Mind, in essence, formless.
Mm-hmm.
It takes the form of whatever it is that itself manifests, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When the mind is totally quiet, then it loses the identity with the body. See, it remains formless, as formless as its reality, reflecting its reality, identical with its reality, formless, nameless. Form takes this form and then a name, right? I am César, I am this body. See, name and form appear sort of identity with the body. Otherwise, it remains formless. And when it collapses, like in deep sleep, it is absent, right? It's not absent, it is present, but in a unmanifest potential latent state, right? As infinite amount of possibilities. Mm. So all this, or what appears, the way the whole awakened state is a mental state, therefore it is the mind itself. And dream state, the mind creates another body for itself, right? And have a different life for a shorter period of time. See, there is no continuity, right? In the dream state. There may be a repetition of particular something in the dream state, right? And so people that have such a huge trauma, so like war veterans and all that stuff, they can the imprint is so strong, and the identity with that imprint is so strong that they keep on reenacting that experience in their dreams, right? But they are reenacting the awakening state. There is it's different. It's like a continuity, right?
Yes, yes.
Like a progress. It gives the idea,
Yes.
this feeling of time and progress and evolution and kind of a sequency and all that stuff. My brother was calling. And then, because the mind cannot sustain itself, also the body needs rest, right? And then it withdraws itself completely into consciousness, right? It is there as the experience of total darkness or total ignorance, right? But there must be there somebody witnessing the presence of the total darkness or the total ignorance. So still there is the witness of the mind in its own manifest ignorant state, right? This is why deep sleep is called Ananda Maya, right? It's an illusory bliss. Actual bliss is the natural state of the witness of the illusory bliss, right? In the same way, it's called Ananda Maya, the quiet mind, because it's not permanent. So the witness is beyond even the quiet mind, the stillness of the mind.
Because sometimes I understand the human or the physical life is not ideal. Obviously, we suffer. But when you talk about just being some sort of formless bliss eternally, it kind of sounds, also it sounds weird. It doesn't sound necessarily, do you understand what I mean or not? Like,
For as long as there is ego, it sounds weird.
huh?
If there is ego, it sounds weird. If there is
Yeah.
if there is no ego, it's just natural. It's one's natural state. It's one's own reality.
Yes.
In the awakened state, when there is no ego, the mind is as quiet or as still as it was in deep sleep, and yet awake. This is why it's called Jagrat Shushupti. See, awaken sleep. Also called Samadhi.
Called?
Samadhi.
Samadhi.
Yes.
Samadhi. Yes. Yeah.
It's a total stillness of the mind in which even the ego sense, body identity is gone. And it's that state, in that mental state, see, consciousness reveals itself as I. And then you can realize, because the mind is present, awake, this is when you can realize that the mind is not separate from consciousness. See? that there is no mind and consciousness, that they are not two. They are one and the same, inseparable. Right? That's the so-called knowledge of Advaita or not two, non-duality. And there is no separate entity, second entity called mind.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because if it's too many things, I can't process and take more like
Yes.
things and things.
The mind cannot understand consciousness, nor it can experience
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah.
Only consciousness knows consciousness as I. Right? So we as mind can know no consciousness. Only we as consciousness can know oneself as consciousness.
So, sorry?
We as mind
Mind can't.
cannot
Yeah.
know consciousness.
I understood, yes.
Only we as consciousness can know
Yes.
ourselves as consciousness.
Yeah.
Because both are I.
Mhm.
One is real and the other one is a projection of the other, a manifestation of the other. Like when you see yourself in a mirror, right? The reflection in the mirror is the mind, right? And the reflection is in the mirror is identical with the body that is standing in front of it, right? But the reflection in the mirror can never know the body standing in front of it, right? So only the one standing in front of it is the one that knows that it is real, right? That it is I.
Okay. I understood it.
Good.
Mhm.
How is Hiran?
He's very good. Yeah, he's fine.
Morning walk?
Yes, morning walk. Yeah,
Good. Send my love to him.
I will. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
What else?
No, it's fine. Thank you.
That's a good
Yeah.
question. That's a good question. Right?
Yeah. And Nastya is fine?
Yeah, she's fine. The body's a little bit sick. Like 4 days with fever and cough, and the 2 first days he was having body ache, his legs. There's a virus going on here, so he got it. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Take him tomorrow to the
Yeah.
doctor because it's already 3-4 days. So
Yeah.
the fever is gone, but the cough is still is there. So. And he spent basically the whole day in bed, and they must be feeling really, really bad.
Yeah. Okay, I hope he feels better soon.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
If it is a virus, nothing. You have to treat the symptoms and wait for it to go. If it is an infection, then
Then you need
normally when
something.
there is fever, maybe an infection. I hope it's not. Let's see. The doctor is the one that could say that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'll send your regards to them.
Yeah, thank you. Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Oh, there is